often think back to the important relationships I've had in my life. Specifically, I'm talking about those mentors who have helped me along my journey. Many of you in this room may know the relationship I'm talking about. I am a proud first-generation college student who navigated a new college language and environment entirely and almost all on my own. It was lonely and isolating at times. I didn't know what I didn't know until Susan. Susan was that person for me. She was my supervisor as part of a learning community program I was a part of at my undergraduate institution. More importantly, she was my mentor. It might have been the cultural connection we shared, or our love for Frida Kahlo, or perhaps it was that the first time somebody at the institution I was at took an interest in me and in my success. She was, in every depiction of the word, a mentor. She contacted me. She made sure I was being academically successful. And more importantly, she followed through. Looking back, I often reflect and ask myself, was I a good mentee? Did I demonstrate good mentorability in a relationship that is still very strong today? So I want to start off by asking you these questions. When was the last time you were in a mentoring relationship? What was the experience like? Did you know what to expect? Did you know how to engage in that partnership? And did you understand your role and responsibility as a mentee? Chances are that entering into that developmental relationship, you may have perceived it to be one-directional. You know, the traditional way of what we think a mentoring relationship is supposed to do. At the end of the day, the mentor is supposed to provide knowledge down to the mentee in helping them become a successful protege. And yes, that's what mentoring relationships are intended to do, but it's so much more than that. So fast forward about 15 years, I was at the Texas Mentoring Summit Conference in San Antonio when I first heard Dr. Rich Reddick mention the term mentorability. I had never heard the term before. In my many years of working with mentoring, I had never heard it used in this context, and it changed the narrative of how I saw mentoring partnerships. It put the ownership and the emphasis back on the mentee. And that's what mentorability is all about. By definition, the term mentorability is the ability to engage in mutually beneficial and rewarding developmental relationships. When we think about mentoring, we think about malleable mindsets and changing and inspiring the lives of others. But how many times do we shift that mindset and think, how mentorable are we? That we are engaging and being receptive to somebody else who's more experienced, and that reciprocity is a decisive contributor to that partnership. As Reddick described mentorability, I sat back in my chair and thought, gosh, could it really be that simple? Are we really missing the mark in how we engage in mentoring partnerships? Are we not doing a good job of preparing mentees for the onset of the partnership? So I did what everybody does when they don't understand a term. I went home and I Googled it. To my surprise, Google search yielded very little results, and even today, when I type mentorability into Microsoft Word, there's a red squiggly line indicating that the word is not a word. So I left intrigued. I was inspired at this point. So I started doing a research with a colleague of mine, Zachary Taylor, and our first study examined 187 mentoring programs at all four-year public institutions in Texas. We found that mentoring programs were 4 times more likely to address the roles and responsibilities of the mentor than they were the mentee. After our data analysis, I thought, wow, considering that most mentoring programs rely heavily on the mentee's development as a programmatic outcome, we're not doing a really good job of preparing mentees for that partnership. We're not telling them what to expect. We're not sharing the message on mentorability. In other words, no one is talking to the mentees. But that changes today. I'm here to share a message with you right here, right now. I'm inspired to inspire you. I want you to transform your next mentoring partnership. We spend our lives in developmental and transformational relationships. Whether they're personal, professional, or spiritual, we are continuously learning and growing from others. But how do we maximize these opportunities when these organic and formal relationships happen? How do we make the most out of the experience? Mentorability is the willingness to understand that we grow from others as others grow from us. And that starts by understanding our commitment, reciprocity, and vulnerability. So first, be committed. Don't just show up. Be present both physically and mentally, time after time. We spend so much time today in the digital space, and that's okay. If you are engaging with your mentor in whether it's social media, text messaging, or email, there's nothing wrong with that. But be prompt in your response and be proactive in how you engage in that partnership. And when that face-to-face occurs, because it inevitably will, make it memorable. Start by asking, what do I hope to gain from these few minutes of time with a more experienced individual? Why am I investing the time? I mean, this person is making time for me. Your mentor is making time for you. When I think about the students I have honestly had the honor of mentoring, the ones that spend the time, the ones that are committed, the ones that take the initiative, those are the ones I still engage with frequently. We all live very busy lives, but what you can do is you can stay accountable, you can be committed, you can do your part. Commitment is the first step in assessing your own mentorability. Second, we are all a sum of our experiences. It is our experiences that shape who we are in this moment of time. When we enter into a mentor-mentee relationship, you must understand that that relationship is two-directional, meaning it's not the traditional one-way directional relationship we thought it to be. Your life experiences and what you bring to the partnership can truly help it be an exchange, a partnership, where both of you are learning from the experience. When I think about mentorability and specifically reciprocity, I think of April. April was a graduate student of mine who I mentored and supervised for about a year and a half. She came to my office and she sat down and we talked about life, we talked about relationships, we talked about her academics and what the next career step was for her. But we also talked about supervision and her leadership style. Each time she talked, I often thought about the situation. She left, I reflected on that particular advice I gave her. Would I have handled it that way? Could I have done something differently? She brought a new perspective to my own leadership and my own supervision. I'm a better mentor, leader, and person because of her and the mentees I have had the privilege of working with and the reciprocity they brought to my partnership. And finally, vulnerability. It is very hard to change something about who we are, much less change because somebody is advising or suggesting us to. Think back to the last time you consciously made an effort to change something about yourself. It's hard. As humans, we don't like to feel like we are not in control of our own lives. But mentors can provide a new perspective, a new way of how to handle life that can positively shape our world. But I understand and I know change can be hard. I mean, you as my mentor want me to change, but I've always done it this way, and you want me to do it differently? I have had an honor of talking about mentorability at various conferences, and I've asked practitioners, scholars, and students one question at the end of the presentations, and the question is, what is the one attribute, the one characteristic that mentees can bring to the mentoring partnership that can make it thrive? Each time, in multiple settings, 100 miles apart, every group has said being open-minded, being vulnerable, being willing to change, being transparent. I would argue being vulnerable and open-minded are the two biggest contributing factors to how mentorable we are. So next time you enter into a developmental relationship, or you re-examine the one you're in right now, think about these questions. Are you committed and willing to make time for the partnership? Do you understand the reciprocity you bring to the relationship? And are you truly willing to be open-minded and vulnerable to change? Today and moving forward, let's reimagine our willingness and commitment as a mentee. Let that commitment, reciprocity, and vulnerability shape and inspire your next developmental relationship. Mentorability is not a new phenomenon, but how we re-examine our own selves as a mentee to enter into the partnership can positively shape it to be better. It can actually make it thrive. So don't enter into the mentoring partnership, but actively live your own mentorability. Thank you.